On this week's Hot List, soccer sanctions. Are the penalties for Indonesia's worst stadium tragedy enough? Conflict chaos. The war in Ukraine rages on heading into G20. We talk with Vasyl Hamianin, Ukraine's ambassador to Indonesia, on why the world can't forget this. And Luxury Flush, the plan to provide high-end public toilets at tourist hotspots. Hello and welcome. This is Hot Indonesia. I'm Dalton Tanonaka in Jakarta. Let's get to it. My co-hosts, Linda Ibrahim, writer and business consultant based in Jakarta. And sitting in for Millie Lukito this week is Farina Situmorang, founder and CEO of the AI technology company Pensive. Hot topic number one, soccer sanctions. Suspects were questioned this week in the stadium stampede in Malang on October 1st that killed 132 people. Among them were league and club operators and police being questioned. A task force ordered by the president is looking at what went wrong when security officers fired tear gas at spectators and what to do right in the future. More than 600 people were hurt in the crush. All professional matches have been canceled at least until November. Linda, an investigation, play stoppage, is that enough?
No, it's not enough so far. What I do not understand are two things. First of all, the police keep saying that there were no orders for tear gases, for example. As far as I understand with police, you don't get ammunition by yourselves. You know, those officers don't walk to get ammunition by themselves. Someone ordered to do that, and someone ordered them to fire the tear gases. And now, who's being criminally charged are only the below-ranking officers. I mean, the other two, the Kapolsek and the Kapolda, are relieved from duties, but they're not suspects, and I think they should be suspects on the top. Actually, even go further than that. And secondly, yesterday, or was it a couple of days ago, the police finally admitted that, there were some tear gases being fired, and they're outdated, but they're not dangerous. They got experts saying that none of the people died, actually were impacted by the tear gases. They died because of the stampede. That's unacceptable. I mean, that's just making up excuses one by one, and I'm really mad.
I do believe that there will be more suspects named because you're right. It can't just stop at three people from the police.
No.
It has to go up the chain of command. Now, Indonesia did escape sanctions from the sports world governing body FIFA, meaning the Under-20 World Cup will still be held in Indonesia next year. Farina, I think that decision should not have been made until after the investigation. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree because, I think that's a major screw up without any leader so far, also from the soccer world, right? Like to resign. I mean, if this is happening in any other country, they probably have already filed the resignations on the day. And it was just so unfortunate that this kind of tragedy happened. And I agree with Linda that there's no one high enough the ranks actually admit it and just give a heartfelt apology. They should just stop doing whatever it is that they're doing and resign. And somebody needs to take really responsibility on this.
What struck me, this past week in seeing some of the social media and the videos that's being posted, many of them heartbreaking. I mean, we've seen some of the victims there. But more important is the lack of professionalism that I saw with the security people, some treating the tear gas response kind of like a video game. I mean, you may have seen that video where they say, okay, it hit that, let's get that guy. Linda, proper training for situations like this, like Malang, must be reinforced or redrawn now.
They should have done that before even Asian Games 2018. But here's the thing: the mentality that we have here, unfortunately, with the elite, is that if you can go by the bare minimum, then that should be enough. And I think they got away with not having a proper crowd management system, crowd control system during the Asian Games. And that's like one of the top things that have already happened. They were like, okay, so it should be okay. We've managed that. Oh, let's go bid for the Olympics even. But that's the mentality at the top.
The other side of the coin is, I stressed this last week, is the need for public education. The government should immediately start a campaign, written, social media, whatever, against hooliganism, right? I mean, if fans never pour it on the field, I mean, that's emotional, but it shouldn't go beyond that. And spectators can help themselves, education in the homes, among schools, what not to do. And let me ask you guys something. If you've never been in a tear gas situation, and I have, covering protests back in the U.S., tear gas is not like a smoke or like a liquid. What it is suspended particles propelled by a explosive charge. So when you get tear gas on you, it's not the gas that hurts you. It's these little particles that stick to your clothes and gets in your eyes and gets on your skin. So one bit of advice, if you're in a tear gas situation, get water, pour it all over your exposed parts of your skin and in your eyes, because the dust particles, the irritants are the things that'll hurt you and stay with you if you don't wash it off. So last point, Farina, again, help yourselves. And also, simple thing, when you go to the stadium, any stadium, whether it's a concert or outdoor football match, know where your exits are and think about what you do in case of emergency. Right, Farina?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I thought that would be standard practice. I don't know. I've never been in a football game, like a local football game like that. But I think even if we go to the cinema, there's always someone that tells you where the exits are, right? I think that should be standard practice in most cases. I think in Jakarta, I'm just not sure if it's outside of Jakarta, if that's the same sort of practice. But yeah, I think, look, Dalton, it's just a very, very unfortunate. And, public education, yes, but someone high enough has to take responsibility for this.
Okay, good point. Hot Indo will continue shortly with conflict chaos. The world can't forget the war in Ukraine. That country's ambassador tells us why.
Saya ingin mengumumkan kerjasama dengan The Indonesia Channel. Saya mendorong semua entitas untuk bergabung dalam upaya ini dengan mempromosikan produk dan layanan mereka di platform digital yang unik ini.
I love Indonesia. I love the food. Yummy. Wow. I'm gonna hunt for ingredients. Now I'm ready to cook. Let's go to the kitchen. It's done. Let's meet to eat.
Foodiepedia on the Indonesia Channel.
I'm Trần Minh Ngân of VCCN Net Việt in Hanoi.
I'm Thairat Thomya of Thailand's Thairat TV in Bangkok.
I'm Monica Sambodet from the National Television of Cambodia in Phnom Penh.
I'm Raymond Go of Malaysia's TV3 in Kuala Lumpur.
I'm Glenda Chong of Singapore's Channel News Asia.
I'm Raisa Chantami of the Indonesia Channel at the ASEAN Secretariat in Jakarta.
This is your weekly look into the dynamic Southeast Asia region.
ASEAN Today on the Indonesia Channel.
The Best of Bali takes viewers on a special guided tour to the treasures of the island of the gods.
Well, the romantic dinner is beautiful.
The Best of Bali, only on the Indonesia Channel.
You're watching Hot Indonesia with Linda Farina and me. Here's hot topic number 2, conflict chaos. The territorial war in Ukraine intensified this week when Russia launched numerous missile attacks at targets including civilians. Ukraine is calling on allies to rush delivery of high-end air defense technology, among others. This comes as Indonesia's president addressed the high cost of aid and increased prices due to the military conflict. Dr. Vasyl Hamianin is Ukraine's ambassador to Indonesia. He joins us now in Jakarta. Sir, thank you for your time. This war now approaching 8 months. Why is it important for the world and Indonesia to not lose sight of what is going on in your country?
Well, it will be, I think, after the 8 months of war, it will be pretty obvious to say why. Because, well, effectively, Russian Federation, headed by maniac Vladimir Putin, has destroyed the global agenda for all directions, including the G20, which is outrageous. I mean, from talking about how to deal with the pandemic, how to improve the digital transformation and all, we are starting to talk how to save the world from starvation, how to renew the energy, how to deal with energy crisis. That, I mean, it covered all the countries in the world, more or less, to this or that extent. How to deal with growing prices for food and fuel, how to deal with the logistic crisis, and what is more important is how to deal with the crisis of trust. Because now we have the one man blackmailing the whole world with nuclear weapons, with starvation, with all sorts of crises and all sorts of calamities. I think this is a good reason for the world to be disturbed and to think about how to deal with this, how to put the end to this blackmailing and to this endless threats and terror.
You know, sir, I for one had thought this conflict would have been over by now, or at least certainly by the meeting of world leaders in Bali next month. You know, this is a tough question, and if you can keep it short, I mean, what will it take to end the fighting? I mean, is it peace at the table, or will there be a military solution? What do you think, sir?
Well, to get it briefly, we've been hoping for peace for the last 7 months. But and we've been like declaring this, and we were ready to talk. However, after the annexation of Ukrainian territories, deliberately performed by Vladimir Putin and Russian Federation, Russian parliament, and supported by the Russian people, by the population, after the, I mean, outrageous terrorist attacks, missile strikes on civilian objects last Monday, or this Monday, I think that table is not the solution. And to my understanding of that, we've been talking about this many times and trying to find the ways, but I think the only solution is the negotiations could be possible when the last Russian soldier leaves the territory of sovereign Ukraine or dies there.
Okay, Farina, question for the ambassador.
Yes, sir. I'm just a citizen, obviously waiting on the sideline, watching the news. Do you think, or what will it take for a peace treaty to happen or an agreement to happen in the G20? What do you think it will take?
For the peaceful agreement on G20, you see, I feel, well, I'm not a prophet, right? But I feel that Vladimir Putin is in the brink of agony, because according to his previous plans, he declared the referenda or the sham referenda on the occupied territories and all the annexation process could have been performed like late November or maybe December. And then all of a sudden he changed the plans and did what he did, right? Perhaps this is somehow connected to G20 summit, because he wants, I think, I don't know what he wants, right? But I think the plan is to like finish with Ukraine before the beginning of the summit, or like to be defeated. I think this is the threshold, and he is very much afraid of being finally ostracized by the whole world after the, I repeat, he destroyed the agenda of G20, right? Now his aggression, the escalation he's performing will destroy the G20 summit, because either he is not coming or the other leaders may not come. So this will be like a mess, right? Which nobody wants, especially Indonesia. And all the civilized world doesn't want this. That's why I think he's in a hurry and he's agonizing. That's my feeling.
And we're just 1 month away from G20 in Bali. Okay, Linda, question for the ambassador.
Your Excellency, I wonder if you can perhaps tell our audience what life has been so far in the 7 months for those Ukrainians that could not flee. I wonder if something as simple as, are schools still in running, or the clinics, where they're getting their medicines from? Are the markets open? Are people left behind able easily to find food, for example, things like that, like the social structures of those Ukrainians that could not afford to flee? Can you tell us a little bit more about that, perhaps?
Well, however, the whole Ukraine is under threat. And recently we had the cities in all corners of Ukraine were struck by missiles. But still, Ukraine is a big country, right? It has a territory like 2.5 times as big as Java. So as Isle of Java. So, it's quite big. And that's why there are some corners that are relatively calm. So we can, like, for example, there are storages and warehouses and all. Logistics has been like maintained on quite a stable level. So, well, I can tell what happens in Kyiv, in the capital city of Kyiv, which is very close from the border, and again, it's under direct threat from the air. People are not worrying too much. People are not afraid. They are normally just performing a normal life, going to the shops, going to work, going to hospitals. Like the last strike on Monday, my mother was in the hospital as a patient, and my daughter was in the hospital as a doctor, right? So they saw it and they felt it. And then after this, okay, let's clean the hospital from the debris. Let's make some repairment and go back to work. That's what happens. Of course, in the occupied territories, or the territories which are closer to the front line, to the battle line, it's much more complicated. But still, volunteers are doing a good job, and while risking their lives, they deliver medicines, they deliver the food and other aids to the disabled, old people who cannot do this by themselves. So that's basically that's something my wife used to do when she was in Ukraine before coming to Indonesia last month.
Well, the incredibly brave people who stay where they have to stay and continue their work. You have to respect that. Sir, to wrap this up now, besides sending military supplies, what other ways can governments and civilians help you?
Well, we receive a lot of help. And exactly as you say, that some help comes from the governments. It will include mainly the military help and financial, of course, financial support, because our economy is struggling to survive. After deblocking the grain ports, we started to receive some income, but it's still not enough for economy to to function properly. So yes, we receive a lot from the foreigners, and one of the greatest support for Ukraine in these bad times is that the hosting of our refugees, whom we have now around 13 million. It's women and children that, well, half of them cannot work because they are children, right? So they are provided with some support, with aids, with the school, with the opportunity to go to kindergarten, to school, whatever. So this is a great help. And of course, yes, we receive basically everything now from the West, at least from that direction, because we cannot receive from the north or from the south, yeah? So ports are blocked, and from the north, it's so obvious.
Okay. Dr. Vasyl Hamianin, Ukraine ambassador to Indonesia, thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thank you very much.
More Hot Indo is ahead. Luxury Flush. This plan to install high-end toilets in tourist hotspots.
Produk lokal memang handal, kreasi lokal memang spesial. Ayo beli buatan negeri, bangga sekali produk sendiri. Dari busana sampai kria, kuliner juga buatan kita. Ayo beli kreatif lokal, marilah beli produk kreatif lokal. Pejuang negeri, beli kreatif lokal, banggalah beli produk kreatif lokal. Wow.
I'm Caitlin Turner, and welcome to Yoga Bliss. Exhale, reaching down to triangle pose. Roll your knee out and up to the sky, breathing here.
Yoga Bliss, only on the Indonesia Channel.
You are watching iPop Playlist.
iPop on the Indonesia Channel.
You are watching Hot Indonesia from Jakarta. Hot topic number 3, luxury flush. It's a problem in many visitor destinations in the world, unclean and simply stinky toilets. So the Tourism Ministry has begun a project to install 1,000 high-end restroom facilities across the country, beginning in Bali. For 5,000 rupiah or 33 cents, those seeking relief can enter and feel cool comfort. You know, this is more important than it sounds because, culturally, for example, Japanese judge a place by its restrooms. Not clean, they're not coming back. Right, Linda?
I do that too. I do that too. But here's the thing. That's a wonderful plan, and I do see the point of that. But there's a bigger plan than that. Let's just start with just decent toilets at every tourist destination all over Indonesia, because that's not even fulfilled. I think we only have maybe 50%, 60% with decent toilet. Start with that, making it 100%. Then you can go up and have this luxury at certain points. I'll go behind that plan. I think much more important at this moment, when we're late by about 19, 20 years, is this decent toilet at every tourist destination.
Okay, well, Linda, it goes back to what we talked about earlier is public education. When the toilets are built, they're brand new and they're clean and they're shiny. If people would be more conscientious at these public facilities, it'd be less of a problem.
No, Dalton.
They build dirty toilets. I don't think they.
No, I've seen brand new toilets at tourist destination that are not on Java and Bali. I'm talking about tourist destination. Sumatra, Kalimantan, Sulawesi, and all the other places. And some of them, they're brand new and they're not decent, Dalton. They're
what
not
do you mean not
yet.
decent?
Well, for example, they don't necessarily have a good flushing system to begin with, and they're new. And then they don't have, for example, you have ceramics around the water area so that you don't so that you can keep it clean easily, and they don't have that.
Oh, okay. Well, there has to be a basic standard for a basic toilet. I mean, it's
that's
not.
my
It's
point.
it's
They
not. We're
don't
going
have
back to
that.
prehistoric time. Okay. Well, that's a good point. So, Farina, though, don't you think the burden also is to be borne by the user, the end user, no pun intended?
Yeah, and I think that's why they have I mean, probably have to pay some money to go into one of these toilets, because I would imagine, Dalton, like some of the communities surrounding those toilets areas may not have as nice of a toilet like what they are deploying, right? So if you don't have some sort of like a threshold, then people will just take it for granted and start using it instead of their own. I think that's probably what has been happening. Look, I'm all for any good hygiene, sanitary improvements. Those are great, but I hope on top of that, if they do have hospitality and tourism budget, they at the very least they need to fix like road infrastructure, things like that, because who needs a luxury toilet if you can't even go there?
Okay, this is kind of a public relations thing. It's nice to put out in the media, but you're right. Overall infrastructure always needs to be improved. The toilets are pretty basic, and everyone agrees with that. Okay, it's feedback time now, and Awani had this to say about the soccer stadium tragedy. The whole world condemned the use of tear gas. Do not repeat this stupidity. And Risianto posted this about the presidential candidacy of Jakarta Governor Anies Baswedan. People are smart enough to choose which one has played identity politics. Here's how to contact us with your feedback. Email at hotindo@theindonesiachannel.com or comment through our Hot Indonesia or Indonesia Channel Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube pages. Final words, Linda.
We've talked about this problem about the soccer stadium for 2 weeks now, and it's sad that no matter how hard the civil society speaks, it seems that the ruling government, the elite, the police just simply don't listen to us. Now, and I'm quite disappointed that FIFA has not given Indonesia severe sanction, because we should have received that. I think people on the top thinking they can get away with what happened in Kanjuruhan, then they should not be getting away with what happened. Accountability counts for a reason. That's why you're in power. That's why you should be accountable. And unfortunately, they're not.
Final words, Farina.
Yeah, I think problems and problems or challenges are opportunities for leaders to show up and basically show what they're truly made out of. And certainly everyone will pay attention to their actions during times of crisis, right? And I think this is a time when we're going to see who are the true leaders here. And yeah, I mean, I'm waiting, so we'll see.
And my final words, Japan finally opened its doors to visitors again this week, one of the last holdouts in protecting against the COVID-19 pandemic. As more of us resume travel to our favorite places, it'll be such a pleasure to hug old friends and eat good ethnic cuisine. But remember, we just went through more than 2.5 years of pain and sacrifice. Let's hope government and public response to the next emergency is faster and better. And that is Hot Indonesia for this week. For Linda Ibrahim and Farina Situmorang, thank you for watching. Please join us again next time.